Welcome to the Community Lens. This is our pilot episode, Residents, bringing residents town news that's important to all of us. We welcome you and hope that you join us. We will be doing this monthly, and if you ever would like to come on and share your lens, we would love to have you. So without further ado, let's introduce our panel.
Hi, I'm Chrisanne Vogt. I live at 240 Forest Road in Northford. I've been going to town meetings for years, but only sporadically if it was something that particularly interested me. Finding out about the possible development of the Poco field really focused me to go to more and more meetings. I found out how very complicated town government actually is. If you're reading the minutes from one meeting, they're going to refer to minutes in another meeting, and it's almost impossible for your average person to keep track of everything that's going on at one time.
Victoria Caroline, 63 Great Hill Road, North Branford, Connecticut. I have not attended meetings for years, but when the chickens came up, and I have chickens and fresh eggs next door, I decided that, well, let me go and see. The first meeting my husband went to. The second meeting also was going to include lighting, which I am very interested in because there's a building on the corner across from Rose's winery, and they have lighting that blinds you on that corner. So I had asked to see the lighting plan that was associated with that, and I still to this time have not seen that and whatever. So at this point, I think everybody should be able to voice their opinions and see what is available when they're doing large projects. Any large project should have a lighting plan so that it shines only on the property that they're on and not out onto the roadway. It's very dangerous.
I'm Kelly Dolan. I really have not participated in our local government up to this point, but I was alerted to the changes to the chicken zoning, which certainly got my interest as I'm a hobbyist myself. And one of the main reasons I chose North Branford over other towns was because of its farm charism and its ethos around that and its support for not just the farmers, but also its residents to kind of have that victory garden and that small farming experience. So when I was alerted to the proposed changes to the zoning, I was obviously very concerned because it would have a real direct impact on me. I don't have a very large plot of land. I think it's probably rather average at a half acre. So it was going to be rather restrictive. And I'm always concerned when I see zoning changes that are adding a lot of detail and restrictions, because those are always difficult to navigate. They can be hard to understand, and they're often difficult to enforce as well. So I was very concerned about that coming out and having an impact on a lot of my neighbors who also have small chicken operations going in their backyards. And I was concerned that there wasn't an awareness of those changes that were coming out. I know the town posts it on their website and it's in the sound, but it's hard to keep up with a lot of these things. Unless somebody waves it in your face, you don't realize that that is going to impact you. And a title like a poultry zoning isn't necessarily going to catch someone's attention because you don't know what the details are. So was able to find out what the details in the proposed changes were and try to get that information out, because really I think planning and zoning is one of the areas that can have the most direct impact on you as an individual resident. I think we spend a lot of our time talking about national politics, right? But those aren't things that we really have a lot of direct interaction with. But town politics, things like planning and zoning, the regulations that impact what you are able to do with your property is this thing that you can have the most impact on yourself and will have the most impact on you. So being able to participate in these meetings was quite enlightening and actually really encouraging, because I learned for the first time that the Planning and Zoning Committee, it's a group of volunteers. It's really our neighbors who have a vested interest in the town, and they're there with the best intentions. So it was a really encouraging experience that they opened these public hearings up. There was excellent turnout, and they really listened to our concerns. They made multiple revisions, trying to take those into account. And in the end, the result, they tried to reflect what the town's desires were, the desires of the residents. So it was a really positive experience.
Thank you so much, everybody. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a little time for each of us to speak and to tell a little bit more about our experience at the meetings after introducing ourselves. I have been trying to be as active as possible since I came back to town several years ago. And just through life, it's hard. We're working, we're paying our bills, we're raising our kids, we have other things going on. And I'm have the opportunity right now that my son's older, and I was brought into this because I'm very passionate about the farms and the chickens. So this has really got me going, and I don't want to drop the ball. I want to keep it going forward, because what I discovered is there's a big difference between active and passive communication. And the town is only held to a certain standard by law for communication. They only have to post in one newspaper, and they only have to post minutes and things on the website. And what I discovered is there's many more commissions and committees than I ever knew existed. So I thought it was important to bring you the community lens so you can see what is going on and what we may be missing. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists, they'll have 3 minutes, to just tell us what they've learned by going to the meetings and what more they look forward to learning as they continue on, or if we have more people that are willing to come on and share their experience as well.
Okay. I've been going to the Blueprint Committee meetings, and you might ask, what's the Blueprint Committee? Because very few people have heard of it. I'll start by reading their mission statement. And the mission of the Town Blueprint Committee is to recommend strategic plans to promote sustainable growth and enhancement of our town. We aim to foster a thriving and inclusive community by focusing on economic, social, environmental opportunities that will improve the quality of life for our residents and ensure the long-term prosperity of our town. We place strong emphasis on sustainable development for the long-term viability of our town. We're committed to preserving and enhancing the natural resources our town provides, and in all endeavors, we will demonstrate transparency, accountability, and open communication with all stakeholders. By actively engaging with residents, listening to their needs, and valuing community input, we will ensure that our efforts align with the aspirations, desires, and dreams of our town. Ultimately, we're dedicated to building a sustainable and prosperous community that residents can be proud to call home. I came to them because I was curious about the proposed development at the town center and found out that the Blueprint Committee, who is interested in selling a lot of properties that our town owns to get either tax revenue or just the straight out money to go into a general fund, had put aside a special group called the Town Center Subcommittee. I believe that was at the end of last year. And it was a group of businessmen who approached the town council, and they wanted to work on a concept for building basically what would be a development on the POCO grounds. I read all of their minutes, the town center subcommittee minutes, and then the meetings, I was only able to go to one, and then the meeting stopped because they were waiting for the Blueprint Commission to make a determination about whether their proposal could be forwarded to the town council. So it's all very complicated already. When I did go to the last Blueprint Committee meeting, it didn't live up to my expectations at all, because I was waiting for the report from the Town Center Committee to the Blueprint Committee, and I feel like it never fully happened. They want to ask for permission to request proposals for a master plan of of building a town center on the POCO grounds. The only thing that I've heard mentioned through more than one person was the necessity of having a town hall, another town hall, be part of that development. I would urge everybody to pay attention to the Blueprint Committee minutes and also the center, the town center subcommittee minutes.
I have not attended very many meetings when it comes to town meetings as far as zoning, planning and zoning, and that I'm a longtime resident. My father was born here in 1914, so the Lindsley family has been here for a long time. I currently am a member, an alternate member of the Veterans Commission, which is a new commission that was set up here in 2024. They have done some wonderful things so far. We're a Purple Heart community now. We've gotten that through. We're going to make a hall of honor in the town hall and honor all our vets. So there are great things going on. But as far as the planning and zoning goes, I'm really not into a lot of that at the moment. I just believe I have one comment, which is when they're ready to set the tax budget and whatever, there either needs to be a charter change or there needs to get more people out, because there's never enough people that attend that according to what is required now in the percentage of people that needs to go to that. And that is all based on the charter. So my feelings on that particular issue is that however many people that go out to that meeting when they're setting the budget, they should take a percentage of the people that do vote, not that there is not enough people from the town that have come out to vote. So I think maybe that this should help and tell the people, if you're interested, and I'm sure everybody, senior citizens, new families and whatever, are always interested in that, but I don't think they have a clear understanding what it takes to do that. So I believe it would be really helpful if we push that. And then when the Veterans Commission meets, everybody in the town is welcome to come and voice their opinion, give ideas on what we can to do to help vets. There are a lot of veterans in the town in North Branford and whatever. Some of them are Purple Heart recipients and whatever. And so I'm a firm believer. My husband's a veteran and whatever. So I think we should always see what we can do to help the vets. Thank you.
Well, after attending the planning and zoning meetings, I think what I discovered was, the town is held to a bare minimum of communication for letting folks know what's going on, what's going to be discussed, the meetings and the agendas coming up. But those headlines for what's being talked about is usually not very descriptive. It's, a bureaucratic title. So for example, the poultry regulations and lighting changes. I would have in the past read that as the small little snippet in the sound, because I do try to read the sound to know what's going on, but that wouldn't really have necessarily caught my attention, because it doesn't actually tell you what the impact of the change is going to be, what the suggestions are. Now I know the town isn't held to that, but when we did bring it up, they were very conducive in trying to find a new way to communicate with us. But I think that's probably our limiting factor for a lot of these things that are very impactful. I think we're seeing it right now with reevaluation. Everyone's rather surprised, and I'm seeing some of the comments, on Facebook going back and forth about the impact and how it relates to the budgets. But we had very low turnout when voting on the budgets, and I think it's because folks don't really know. They know something's going on, but they don't realize how it's going to impact them. So using the chicken meetings as an example, when we were able to get a copy of the proposed changes and kind of proliferate that information out online and in person, the turnout was overwhelming. We couldn't find parking in the lot because it had a very direct impact on the residents. Residents were passionate about that, and they showed up. They will show up if they understand how it's going to affect them. So I would be very interested in ideas and strategies on how we can take these different things. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing about the Blueprint Committee, which is very interesting. At the end of that last planning and zoning meeting I was at, they had a line about the disposition of town properties. Now, I talked to them afterwards and learned that it was really procedural. They're required to sign off on the plan from a planning and zoning perspective, but they're not actually the decision makers of what is going to be done. I was told that's the town council that does that. So there's this whole kind of web of relationships between the different committees and subcommittees and councils and such. But knowing where actual residents can have an impact and what's going to affect them and where their voices can be heard and when they should be showing up and providing that feedback. I think we need a better way to communicate those details out so we can get more participation. Otherwise, these things happen and then people are surprised after the fact and rather upset, where they probably would have had their voices heard otherwise. And if the planning and zoning meeting is any indication, the folks in town hall seem very open to that feedback. They're residents too, and they're trying to do their best. A lot of them are volunteers, but they need to be able to let us know what's going on.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to take 5 minutes now, and we're going to ask clarifying questions of each other. And hopefully, if you were listening closely, some of the questions that we have for each other will be your questions as well. And at the end of the show, I'll tell you about how you can reach out to us and send your questions. And if you would like to be on the show next time, that would be great. I just want to thank Kelly because she made the flyer that I found, and we were able to go to the planning zoning meetings, and we were able to get that application reversed. But I'm curious to know, are there any more details from the Blueprint Committee that we should know now that planning and zoning has signed off on the disposition?
Not that I'm aware of. It was really lacking in details. I believe what's going on is they want to submit the request for proposals and in that way get a bunch of different ideas for a plan for the town center. And in that way, they will get the engineering done for free. So then the town center committee will be able to pick and choose through the things that are proposed by one of the firms that submit a proposal and get the engineering, which is going to determine what can and what can't be put into that field, because there's no sewer and there's really no utilities. There's lights. And there's also the proximity to the river. I'd like to say that the Blueprint Committee themselves, they're really nice people. They'll listen to you. They're very welcoming. And that nobody should be worried about ever going to a meeting. They're not going to hiss and boo you when you speak.
Do you have any questions for Victoria or Kelly?
Not right now.
Do you have any idea on what their timing was on the town center?
I had heard they want it completed in 7 years. I've heard varying numbers. I don't think they know yet, and I don't think that we can't put our input in it now because they don't know what is possible for that site. But I intend to be, at all the meetings, taking notes and asking questions until that time comes. And I agree with Kelly that yes, a lot of people are going to show up when they find out what's going on. And what if they cross the river and get into that big, beautiful hayfield?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know open space is very important to everybody in town. I think we heard that when we were at the other planning and zoning committees. People want to keep that farm characteristic going. So how do we track and keep up with what's happening with the Blueprint Committee? Where are they posting that? Where can we see the details of what's happening?
If you go to the town website and go under agendas, all of the minutes and the agendas for all the meetings are listed. You'll get a little green check on the minute box when the minutes have been submitted. You can download and print them.
Right. And I believe you could also sign up on that website to get alerts. So anytime that they schedule a meeting or they update a meeting or cancel a meeting, you can see all of that too. Since finding out about the Blueprint Committee, I've gone and I have signed up for all of the committees because I think another really important committee that I'd like to start going to is the Economic Development Commission because they also have a lot of ideas and they have a lot of projects that are coming up. And I'd just like to mention there's also an affordable housing plan, and that was at the planning and zoning
Yes.
meeting.
That was.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, that was actually really interesting because I think when we hear affordable housing, we have a picture of what that is. High density apartment complexes that are going to result in a lot of traffic and congestion, right? This was a much more interesting scenario where it's already a plot of land within town that has some buildings on it already that are in use and they're non-conforming. So the new owners, with the help of their lawyer, came to the Planning and Zoning Committee with a plan to bring those 3 buildings into compliance and also keep one of those houses as affordable housing. And one of the points that was brought up, the requirement to make it affordable is really the same salary as a starting teacher. So it would provide really entry-level housing for someone who would be coming and possibly working in town and providing valuable services. And if we're going to be expanding the concept to meet the 10% requirement of affordable housing from the state, that's a good way to do it while still keeping kind of the footprint and the characteristic of the town that we're all looking to maintain while still making things accessible for people.
Thank you. I just have a question for Victoria. Can you tell us a little bit about the Walk of Fame for the veterans that's going to be in the town hall? Maybe?
I really can't give you any details yet. I did present to them a idea of all of the different things that you have to come up with to become, whether you were enlisted and you were a town resident, whether you live in town currently, what your status was. So we have not, our meeting for December has been canceled because of the holidays and whatever. So we'll pick it back up in January. It will be on the agenda and whatever. So everybody's welcome to come and look at what we're going to do. It will be in the town hall. That much has been decided. At one point it wasn't going to be, but that is the location.
All right. Well, thank you. Our question and answer session is over. So I just would like to conclude by saying, please reach out. We are on Instagram at Community Lens Info, and we would love to hear from you because we want to get more people involved. My personal goal is to have 10% more people vote at that budget meeting in May, because the more people who vote, the more people that come out. The town is ours. We have wonderful elected volunteers that represent us, but sometimes as the business goes on, and like was mentioned, it's a full-time job to keep up with everything that's going on. So we would just like to do our part to bring what is important resident to you, and hopefully it will inspire a couple people to go to a meeting or at least even watch a meeting or two that you're interested in on YouTube for Totucket TV. And then maybe you can volunteer to come and be on the show. Thank you so much for watching.